to A Well-Designed Business. My name is LuAnn, and I'm so glad you found this podcast. Together with my husband Vince and our partner Bill, we have grown our company Window Works from the ground up. So I know and I understand the challenges you face in running your interior design business. I also know that your talent alone isn't enough to ensure your success. So on this podcast, we talk about strategies and practical steps to help you grow your business. But make no mistake about it, we have our share of fun here too, mixed in with those aha moments that I love so much. This isn't fluff. Nobody has time for that. Whether you are a new interior designer or a seasoned designer, I am here to help you create and to manage the kind of interior design firm that you dream of. It's straight talk and it's action. Are you ready? Let's get started. Hi, welcome to A Well-Designed Business. It is Flashback Friday. Over the years, we have acquired quite a back catalog of episodes with tons of valuable information. And as the show has grown, I often hear, I don't know where to start. There's so many episodes. So we're going to, on Fridays here and there, revisit some of the you should not miss this episode that I know are valuable to you if you're a new listener to the show. And I also know are definitely worth another listen, even if you're a long-time loyal listener of the show. And today we're going to go back to episode 441, Laura and Cliff Muller from 4 Point Design Build Firm. I always get requests for more design build episodes, and it is almost impossible to think of a design build firm and not have my mind go straight to Laura and Cliff. Their company, 4 Point Design, is an award-winning full-service, multidisciplinary, residential and commercial, high-level interior and architectural design firm that includes project management and construction. They're based in Los Angeles. Laura and Cliff each have a long-standing, rich career in the industry, and they eventually joined forces, and that's how they created this impressive company, 4 Point Design. Their accolades abound with features in Architectural Digest, Elle Decor, Better Homes and Gardens, House Beautiful, Metropolis, Hospitality Design, California Home and Design, and more. And recently, Laura has added to the list of their accomplishments. She has designed her first furniture line. It is called the Provenance Signature Collection, and it is presented by our friends at Seasonal Living. If you attended their the first ones ever to do a virtual show house last November with AI and all the things, you saw a sneak peek of that collection for that Malibu show house that they designed, right? The Provenance Signature Collection, which debuted just this past High Point Market in the spring of 2021, is a stunning indoor-outdoor furniture line, and it's absolutely worth checking out. So please go to the links in the show notes or go to seasonalliving.com for their entire product offerings and to see Laura's beautiful designs. All right. So you will hear in the show today, in addition to being experienced experts in the design build firm area, Laura and Cliff Muller are also full of wisdom that can benefit any design business. And I'm so happy to say, since this recording with them, this original recording, since then, I have met them several times in real life and genuinely call them my friends. In fact, I would say it is practically impossible to meet Laura and Cliff and not become friends with them. Both are such warm, loving souls, truly. And if you know them, if you're listening and you know them, I know you're shaking your head, agreeing with me right now all day long. Very, very special people. Okay. So, and before we start, I want to take a moment to thank our show sponsor, Revel Woods. Revel Woods is your source for premium hardwood and resilient flooring. Using the Revel Woods Selector tool, you'll be able to find curated suggestions for your project catered to your client's home. When you sign up for a free professional membership, you'll get access to exclusive discounts and referral benefits. Visit revelwoods.com to get started. Okay, it's my pleasure now to reintroduce you to Laura and Cliff. Hi, Laura. Hi, Cliff. Thanks so much for joining me on A Well-Designed Business today.
Good morning, LuAnn.
Good morning, LuAnn.
You guys, Yes, thank you. Thank you. I'm so glad that you two are here with me because this has been a long time coming. And I'm also excited to actually interview the two of you because I get a fair amount of requests from listeners to have the conversation about design build firms. And I have not had a lot of these conversations on the show. There has been a few of them, but it's by far the lesser majority than your typical straightforward design firm. So I'm looking forward to picking it apart. I've explained in the introduction the career that each of you have had separately, and now you are together for the last 10, 11 years working, and you have joined forces and you have created this amazing business, 4-Point Design Build. I mean, the accolades that your firm has received are numerous. The thing that I love, I want to tell you, is that for anyone listening that hasn't met the two of you in person, when you go to the website, 4pointdesignbuild.com, you're going to feel like you know Laura and Cliff. I love the pictures that you guys have on your website. I really do.
Thank you. That means a lot. I mean, that it has a sense of invitation and welcoming. That means a lot to hear you say that. Thank you.
It definitely does. We all look to have those PR publicity shots. We all look to have the headshots and the different team shots that convey our personality to our potential clients. But yours, what I love about it is that they objectively convey something, but knowing you, they convey you. And that's what I really like. There's such a warmth and a connection between the two of you in real life when you meet you and speak with you in person. And it's coming through on those pictures. And it's just outstanding. What a great photographer, and how cool for the two of you to be so relaxed, to really those pictures let us behind the curtain in my mind.
Well, thank you. Thank you. I'm a little blown away to hear you say that. Thank you. That means a tremendous value to me to hear you say that, because it is not always easy to, find where that line is between professionalism and personal expression, and how you want to express yourself authentically in this business world that we're in. And it's so confusing right now with all the social media lines being blurred. To hear you say that it's resonating is tremendous. Thank you.
You're welcome. And the reason that I'm taking these few minutes to actually discuss it is because, number one, my point is to compliment the two of you, but it is also a learning lesson, and I want our colleagues to go and look at it and see for themselves, because what it is I often find that when you are working with your husband or wife, that should be, in my mind, a plus. That should say to me as a consumer, because it says to me as a consumer, oh, okay, so they're all in, and they are together in this. And not that any single proprietor or any single designer is not all in, but when I've worked with designers in counseling them and coaching them and so forth, if they are working with their spouse, I ask them to lean into it, and I ask them to really express that to me, because it is an extra layer in my mind of added value. I feel like I know from personal experience how much Vin and I talk outside of WindowWorks about our business. And I know how many times one of us gets an idea or sees clarity or understands a better way to do something because we are talking about it on Friday night at 10 o'clock or 7 o'clock or whatever. It's not just waiting until Monday morning to share it with a partner. And so I think that when you look at your website, and here comes the learning lesson, is that you do blend that professional and personal really well in the pictures, and it's a huge message. So anybody that's a husband and wife team, lesson number one right there, make sure that you kind of get whatever's authentic to you, what your relationship is, and sort of see if you can send it to somebody who kind of knows you and says, does this look like me and my buddy here, or does it look like some other couple, right, Laura?
Well, you bring up a great point about feedback. I think that having trusted accountability partners and friends that will tell us the candid truth, that really do know us, that can really provide that insight for us is really important. I think that you make such a good point. Definitely send pictures to trusted colleagues that you think, is this really true? Is it feeling too performed, or does it
Mm.
feel like it? And then the second aspect of that is, then when they say, no, we love it, it's so you, are you ready to say to the world, this is really me, and not
Mm.
that synthetic
Mm.
product that you want the world to see you as, like with all the makeup on? And that's a struggle to
Right.
be able to say, yeah, we really do want to reveal that. And I think it's come over time, because one of the things our clients say, right, babe, is that every single time we finish a client, one of their favorite things during when at the end of a photo shoot day, we all open up a couple bottles of champagne and we go around the room with all the vendors and everybody, and we all celebrate with the homeowners, and we kind of christen their new space, and the flowers are there, and the champagne is chilled, and the house is never going to look better than on photo shoot day. And we go around the table. We say, what was your favorite thing? What's your high and your low? And we laugh about it and we drink about it. And the one thing that they always say is, I just love watching you two get along on the job site.
Mm.
Well,
And
I think one of the nicest compliments we had recently was that one client, after it was all said and done, after 2 years, having our champagne and enjoying the day, and the finalization of the project, uh, the first thing he said was, guys, the nice thing that I really enjoy about both of you is that you are the same person then as you are now.
Mm.
So nothing changed, through all of the stuff that happened,
Mm-hmm.
through all of the trials and tribulations of building something, right? Uh, I think that's one of the nicest compliments you could get at the
Right.
end of the project.
Right.
And
Well,
that
because
speaks to our relationship and how we handle each other when it comes to our clients.
exactly. I mean, because it's a funny thing. When I am on a project and somebody has just completed a renovation, because as a window treatment person, I'm usually coming in when all of that is done.
sure.
And if the project is particularly beautiful, I'll say, who was your designer and who was your contractor? And when they share it, then my next question is usually, would you work with that person again? And particularly for the contractor, the answer is, I would tell you 6 out of 10 times no. And so and that's sad, and that means that man and woman, whoever's running that firm, despite the quality of work, if it's good, they're not running the firm well. But to your point, Cliff, it's that essence of, the person I hired is the person who was the same through the highs and the lows, the pressures. The facade didn't drop on the nice guy, right? It is,
Right.
we are nice people. We are, thoughtful people, and we care about this end project together. So
Yeah.
that's a terrific compliment. And you said something in there that's interesting. Is that a every single project, Laura and Cliff, do you do where I understand, I've had many people express that they will have that celebratory drink with the client after the completion of the project. But you mentioned that you've got all your vendors in there doing that too. I mean, that's it. I mean, that sounds like a pretty big undertaking.
It does take a village. I could never stand up and take credit for a project at the end of the line and just say, hey, look at this pretty pictures. I'm a designer, and oh, wow, because not any aspect of that project was done alone. And uh, our vendors are our team. And many times, by the time we get to the end of the champagne and the photo shoot, a lot of people have gone on to, they're starting other jobs. So not everyone always makes it to the champagne flow, but I do put out an invitation and say, hey, listen, you're important. We value
Mm.
you. You're an integral part of the success of this home, and the clients would like to thank you. We'd like to have something a drink together that isn't on a timeline, and they're invited. Like I said, not everyone comes, but it is important to acknowledge the people that you work with,
Mm.
and the people that our reps, for example, all of our plumbing reps and the people that we work with to get just the right spec sheets done and all that, those they come early on in the design process, but by the time we get to the end of it, they've
Mm.
pretty much been forgotten. But for
Mm-hmm.
me, it's not that. way.
Right,
I mean,
right,
for me, I
right.
like to have my reps come by, and especially because we're friends and they're part of my team. If I'm going to invite my team, my staff, I'm going to invite my whole team. And they
Right.
are considered, they're not maybe in-house, but they are team members and they deserve to celebrate their work.
I love
Well,
it.
So
I think
sure.
it's a great
yeah,
idea.
I
Yeah.
think also too the idea that this is a design build firm, it has other implications about how people are involved in the project,
Mm.
from
True.
the people that are working on site, the drywallers, the plumbers. They know the owners know them,
Mm-hmm.
and they usually have conversations with them. So it's not like they're strangers. They just
Right.
things are done and say, "Oh wow, nice." They actually know the people. They talk to them. We negotiate contracts together. So with the design build system, it's a lot easier to introduce everybody to the owner and get the owner to know them and watch them do their job, which is
Mm.
really pleasant.
No, I think and I can see everything that you're saying. Number one, it's so nice of you to share the celebration with all of the people that have created the finished product for the two of you and for the homeowner. And I also know, I mean, just as window treatment people, how, Billy can sometimes, if we have a whole house of window treatments, he can be there 5, 6, 7, 8 days. It's not
Sure.
the same as, your contractors who are there for weeks and months. But even in that 5 or 6, 8 day period, he's making relationships with that homeowner, right? And I totally get it. And I also,
100%.
yeah, and I also can see sometimes as a vendor, you'll be like, thanks, no thanks, not this time. But other times you'll be like, I really would like to go and see the way this came out. And especially for us as window treatment people, we are always seeing, as a matter of fact, the house come together. But somebody who did the rough in plumbing, they may not see it. And so it might be fun and nice for them to be part of that. So awesome. I
Yeah.
love it. I haven't heard of that before, so good for you guys. All right, let's get into this design build. All right, it is a different beast, design build. And tell me, you know, okay, first of all, your company is called 4-Point Design Build. I noticed on the website that you have a 4-step process. I'm going to jump out on a limb here. Is this where the 4-point comes from, and that sort of a thing? And are these 4 points critical? Like, give me a little bit of background onto that, one of you guys.
Yeah, I think that how we developed the name 4-Point came. It's kind of a multi-layer. 4 just happened to be a really strong number for us. We have 4 children together. We have the compass. We are the center of a compass, and I think Cliff, babe, you said something to me the other
Yeah,
day.
the idea that we go in all directions. When you do design build, you cannot go anywhere but all 4 directions. So
That's
to
right.
cover all of the facts.
That's right. So we really inject ourselves in and which and hence out of that comes the 4-step process. And it's very, very specific and it's very clear. And the compass is very important because we do steer the project. We shepherd the project from the very, very beginning of concept all the way through our champagne toast. So being involved in all 4 corners of a project is very, very important, and it's very integrated. And that is our what we provide, a very integrated service. But specifically, the 4-step process is very clear, and it really works, and it's very defined in the way we approach project sequencing.
Okay. So when I looked at the website, the 4-step process is investigate, discover, analyze. That's step 1. 2 is design, concept, and development. 3 is architectural plans, project documents, bidding, and pre-construction prep. And 4 is the actual construction, design oversight, installation, the staging, the photographing, and the closeout. So the
Right.
reality is that anybody that's had, every single person that's listening that's had even a minute of experience in this business knows that these are the 4 overarching steps, but each of these have their, like, probably a binder of steps underneath them, correct?
Yeah, definitely.
Exactly.
Yeah.
So think about, guys, if you were in a room with 3 interior designers that are in business under, 5 years, and they are saying, my goal is to be a design build firm. What is the first couple of things that come to mind that you are like, here are, to use your word, the pillars, the things that you need to be clear on? I understand, because here's what I guess where I want to say to you is, we can give somebody these 4 steps all day because they all just scribbled them down, I promise you, and they're stopping and rewinding and they're scribbling them down. Okay. Sure. But the thing is, there's something that comes before that. There comes before that the investigation, the self-analysis of, am I cut out for design build? Should I just be design? Should I just be build? What is that extra thing that we have to look inside and clarify for ourselves? What would you guys say that is?
Well, I think I'll tell you, in my point of view, if you have, let's say, 3 new designers that are just deciding to do something with a design build format, it's hard to do if you're not experienced. Okay. No, that's not impossible, but the idea is you're starting a project from concept, the design, the plans, if it's a renovation, the changes of the roof lines, the changes of how things are going to go together, the plumbing, the electrical, all of these things are important to come up with a concept as far as understanding the logistics of everything is how the house is going to be built. So I think the important part is the build part as well, because that's obviously what I'm involved with more so than anything else. But we also do the design in the beginning, and with the experience, we don't have to go out and hire engineers or architects because we have that all in-house and we design it here through that experience. So I think experience is very valuable. And if you decide to do something in a design build setting, I believe you need to have somebody experienced in the construction side to help facilitate your goal.
Okay.
So I would agree.
Go ahead.
Go ahead. I think the first word that comes to my mind, as far as if you're thinking about that, is the liability. I think it's really important to open your eyes very wide and be very clear that when you're an interior designer, your liability is very different than the liability you have as a contractor or a general, or it just requires different insurances. B, it requires what Cliff said exactly, babe. It's totally hinges on your actual physical experience on a job site. So you either have to have somebody that you're going to be partnering with, like we have, that's general contractor, but it's imperative that they have real experience on the job site, because there's so much liability. This is health and safety. These are codes. These are this is legal stuff that you're getting involved in. This is just not as straightforward as one might think. So being prepared for this, not impossible, like Cliff said, but it is something you need to take into consideration. I think it's the best way to do it. I think the trend is swinging that way for more interior designers to be partnering with general contractors, but you need to understand wide open that there is a flow and that there is piggybacking and there is a step aside. All these moments require finesse, and you can't just walk in and go, I want to be a design build firm. This is great, and then not understand the liability, because it's huge.
If you take your first step, and that's to analyze the building, you need experience right away. You need to understand what you're looking at. You need to understand what the issues are in the house. You need to understand what the problems are. If there's a problem about certain issues with electrical or HVAC, you have to be able to see all of that in order to start your concept, in order to start putting something together, at least be able to tell the owner what you need to address before you actually do your work to make the house function properly.
Okay. So what I'm hearing then is, tell me if I'm grabbing it, the first thing is that I'm probably oversimplifying. You don't just say, hey, I'm fresh out of architecture or design school, and why don't I start a design build firm? Like, that's probably like step B or C is what you're saying. And I'm hearing
that's a suicide mission.
Right. So what I'm hearing is that you need a level of experience before you're going to add this construction level, this build level to your ladder of services. And so my question then becomes, I have two-pronged questions. So let's go down two different roads. The first is, if I don't have this experience, if it's my dream, it's my aspiration to one day be a design build firm, do you think then, if I'm listening, is the advice go work for either a construction firm or a design build firm first? So I'm baby designer out the gate. This is my dream. It's not open one. Is it go work for one? Or if I have an architect's degree, is that different than having a design degree? Tell me about that. So I'm totally aspirational on it. That's the first question.
I think what I was saying, I was talking about experience. And in order to learn something, to work with someone as an intern or to work into a certain group of people that do design build, is always beneficial. Education is always the right way to go, but it doesn't give you the experience. And that's what's lacking, because every job is different. And I'm sure you you deal with windows, but every window is different. Every design is different. Every connection is different. It depends on what you're connecting to. So there's a lot of different things that you need to understand. And I think always, I'll definitely say that the best thing about getting started is education, but also too, you need to get with somebody that could mentor you, or you could follow to get some ideas. But if that's not available, you could always get together with a general contractor that's got that experience.
Okay,
and
that was what I was wondering.
Laura had just mentioned that design build firms, if you're going to build it, you need to really have that plan and understanding of who you're working with, and you have to be in order to build it. So if you could hook up with a good general contractor that understands the process and is willing to help throughout the whole process, then that will probably be the best way to go.
Okay, because that was my second thing, was if you're maybe a little more experienced, you're several years, you've sort of got your design process down, but this is an aspiration to have a design build, is it smart to look to partner with a GC? So whether that partner is not a legal partnership, but just like, hey, I like you, you like me, we have a good working come see, come saw, I respect your process, you respect mine. How about if together we try and be more intentional about landing projects that we're both on and developing the symmetry of a process of doing this together? That sounds like a good path to go.
I do think that sounds like I think you nailed it on that one, because I think that if you do have somebody that you have found that that the communication is key, and that they're going to be respectful of the process, and they're going to be it's going to work out for you, and there's two equal partners interested in the same result, then I think that yes, I think that's a great idea. And that's kind of how it's been done for a long, long time, where designers will come into a project and the architects are on the project, and the general contractor has been on the project. And up until recently, we haven't really put design build into this new pocket of interior design build. And I think this is a trend. So I think that connecting with a general contractor that you do have some experience with and it's working is a great option. I just think working with or just ask, if you're newbie, get in with a design build. And I'll tell you why. Working just with a general contractor who's got his own thing going on, and you've got your own thing going on, and you're going to partner, is still missing the integration of how design and construction work together through all steps of the project. So when you work in design build, and I got to tell you, LuAnn, I know you know this, the paperwork itself is tremendous.
I can imagine.
That's where liability, that's under the liability umbrella, making sure that you're not just writing purchase orders for fabrics and framing. Now you're you're coming in at the very beginning with a contractor and you're saying, I want to put a sectional here. I need a wall there. And it would be great if it was a pony wall and it came over here. We could put a counter on the other side. That's construction. So that beautiful design of that sofa that's going to be integrated into that space, you want to do right now. You want to do right away. And you have to know from your general contractor whether that's going to work right out of the gate. That's the investigative part. It's so different when you're an integrated design build, because just the paperwork alone, it changes things. So if you have the opportunity as a young designer to be able to sit in a design build firm that's clearly like ours, which is interior design build, not kitchen and bath remodel, not design build developer that does model homes where you're sitting in a part of a larger firm. Find a small boutique firm, a smaller firm that's very intimately involved in all aspects of running the project, because being a shepherd of a design build project is very different than being a designer and looking to the general contractor to do his part, because the designer and the builder have to do it together.
Right. Okay. And so the thing about this is there's a few things in there, Laura, that you said. I first of all, just let's say that, yes, go get actual experience working in the type of firm that you aspire to have. That's basically what we're saying, right? Number one. The second thing that you said in there is that you guys came to owning this firm together after each of you had 20 plus years in the industry in your own, like Cliff being a contractor, a general contractor and a consultant for contractors, and you being a luxury designer, right, Laura? I mean, this isn't like,
right,
hey, our first business out of the gate, right? So the question is you said in there, when you know that you are a full design build firm, in other words, I'm not a kitchen builder. I'm not a renovation one room person. You are from design build. So what happens? Do you think that it just really takes a body of work and levels of experience, whether for somebody that might take them 5 years and for somebody else it might take them 10 or 15 or 20, before you can say, yeah, I'm not going to just renovate your one bathroom for you? Or do you feel like, you know what it is, when we talk about interior designers getting their business out of the gate, we've had many designers who say that they have in the beginning done projects for less than their full value, for less than what their hourly rate is, all because they evaluated, hopefully this is the reason, that they've evaluated the ROI on it, and they said, this is how I'm going to get my business started. I understand I'm making a trade-off of hours and money here for this project that I know will bring me other projects. It's like a show house, right? You should,
sure,
right? A show house is a marketing investment, okay?
But everybody's an understudy for a little while.
Yeah, exactly, right? And so the thing about that is the analogy here that same analogy, Laura? Do you feel like that there is a period, if you aspire to be a design build firm, that you will, hey, yeah, you just want the kitchen done. Hey, yeah. Or is there a way to stand in your space and say, nope, I'm full soup to nuts? I mean, I don't know. Is it the answer to that? I'm curious.
Yeah, it's funny because there's, I think, the conversation that's happening in design build world is it is taking a new shape. So to answer your question about, can I just do a small space as a design build concept and learn and get some chops that way, it's not impossible. I just think that you have to take a deep breath and say, I'm probably going to make some mistakes, and probably there are going to be things that I didn't realize were going to be my responsibility. So I they slip through the cracks, and that happens. But I think that jumping in is always a good idea. Jumping in with your eyes wide open, jumping in with here's another great idea: have a mentor that does design build shepherd your first small project. So I would be happy to do that, having a young designer say, listen, I'm going to take a small project, I'm going to work with my general contractor, and we're going to shepherd through this. Would you mentor my project digitally? Would we do it, can we do Skype calls? Can we figure out how to make sure that every step of the process that I'm not missing something, so that I can be prepared? Are there documents? Are there templates? Because there are.
So you got to be very careful what you just said. You just said that to thousands of designers. I'm going to tell you right now. So the thing is, I hear you, and I know you have such a kind and loving heart, Laura. I know that about you, but we cannot have 50 designers call you up and say, hey, mentor me through my next project.
Got
okay.
it.
So give us the parameter. Cliff's like, Laura, be quiet. No,
well,
but here's what I want to say about it. There probably is a parameter in which you or someone else of your experience would be willing to do it. So let's clarify that, because, I appreciate the sentiment, and I appreciate the heart that wants to give that. But there has to be some parameters. It can't be just call me or call someone else. So what would that look like if you were to do that? Would there be a fee for that? Would it be like a cap on one question a week or one Skype a week? Because there are a lot of designers that just went, whoa, there's a design build firm in my area, and I would love it if they would mentor me a little. How do I approach them, and what do I offer in exchange?
Oh gosh, that's a great question. I have to ponder that, because
so you were just willing to give it away.
Yeah, that's my nature.
I know it is.
And Cliff is a teacher by trade. I mean, but so I hear you. Thanks for having my back. All right. So what I would say to that, I would say that I'm sure that there are businesses that would allow you to have some sort of an arrangement that you could work out specifically between you and that firm, that may be willing to assist you in your first few projects, whether you work it out with them that it's a weekly Skype call or a monthly Skype call, or they just share some of their basic templating with you, or maybe a checklist. One of the design build firms may have a checklist, or they may need some internship work. So maybe there could be a trade. At the beginning of your career, it's important to get yourself connected with as many people doing what you want to do someday that you can. So I don't know exactly how that might look.
I like that.
But it's worth a shot. When I first got out of school, I got a list of the top 10 designers, and I didn't know who they were, and I just knew they were the top 10 designers. I had asked around. I said, give me the biggest, the best, the gnarliest. I'm going to take them to lunch. And I went and I called every single one of them, and to my wonderful surprise, which I don't know why I was surprised, every single one of these designers said, of course I will help you.
Wow.
And of I will have a cup of coffee with you. So I met them at their convenience by their office. I said, I need you from 10 to 11 o'clock. I'm going to buy you breakfast and a scone and coffee. And I want to pick your brain, because you are somebody I admire and respect. And I just need to meet with you. And every single one of them, and I'm still friends with every single one of those designers today. They have been integral in my confidence building. They've had some wisdom for me when I was going through changing my insurances around, and I said, hey, listen, can you give me 3 or 4 references, and can you look at my contract, make sure I didn't miss anything? And by then, after taking them to coffee, sending them thank you notes, seeing them at ASID events, going over and giving them hugs and saying hello and asking how they were, by the end of the year, I had relationships with 10 top key designers in my business that when I needed them at this point, they were there at that point, it had shifted. It was now they were reciprocating to me. And
I love it.
Those things are very important, to take the time, put your blinders on and don't hear the word can't. If it's Kelly Wersler you want to have coffee with, call Kelly Wersler. If it's any one of those that you want to have a relationship with, do your research in your area, figure out how to make it happen. And the same with design build. If you want to work in a design build firm, or you want to have a design build firm, like what Cliff said, you cannot do that without experience, because you're going to get in trouble.
Mm-hmm.
I mean that quite candidly, and I don't mean that to assume that you don't know what you're doing, but even on the best days, experience speaks so loudly in the day-to-day job.
Well, the risk is so much higher here. We're not moving furniture around and picking paint colors. That is scary and risk of its own when you're brand new. But this is like to your point. It's not the same animal whatsoever. It's
really not
compliance, and it's rules, and it's laws, and it's everything else.
Yes.
Okay. Like the paint police aren't coming to get you.
Right. The first thing we do is we go to building and safety and get all the parameters for this construction. Like what's the zoning requirements, what's the setbacks, and then we start designing our concept with those details. And it's,
I actually will not. I won't design until Cliff finishes step 1, analysis. And that is so imperative that I don't waste time designing something that's not feasible. I need to know where my lights are going to go. So I need to know where the joists are going to be run. So in which direction they are. So, what's happening with demo, what do we really have? And then all that has to fill in. You have to know your budget. So you're dealing with budget, you're dealing with design. I want to know what kind of window treatments. I have to tell my framers that I want to do this kind of window treatment. So I need to have a 3.5-inch reveal if I want to do a seamless box. So if all of that stuff happens at the very beginning, and so I tell Cliff, I can't do anything until I know what the city is going to tell me, what the condition of the property is, how much money am I going to have left over at the end to get nice window treatments.
Right.
And I need to have it on reserve so that I have it at the end, because during construction, that's my budget. I'm negotiating, all of my fluffy things, my fun, beautiful things are being negotiated in construction, because we're using contingency money. So all of this stuff that you're dealing with as an interior designer, it's so exciting, by the way. It's such a wonderful place to stand at the end of a project and go, I look at this beautiful picture and I'm looking at this kitchen, and I didn't just design it or pick the paint colors. We built it. I was there when they laid the concrete. We had to trench through concrete. We hit a sprinkler, all these, that didn't happen, but could have.
It may have happened.
It might have happened. We might have had champagne over it. We're not sure.
They're happening. And you stand at the end, and now you know why we have everybody at the job at the photo shoot for the champagne, because by then you really need to have a drink. But the idea is that it's so wonderful to look at a project in 3-dimension. 4-dimension, 5-dimension. Every sense is being stimulated, because you go, wow, we really built this.
Right.
Here's an example. Here's an example of just this last week on the analysis of a project that we recently got. The owner wanted to make all kinds of changes on the actual footprint of the building, and then when I went to the city, the zoning had changed in March of 2018 to say that it was required now, if you took more than 45% of your walls down, you had to meet the new requirement, which was a 10-foot side yard. Currently, they have 5-foot side yards. So that's where the existing building is. Now, if we just went along and listened to the owner and made these changes, and then making our changes in plans and went to pull out a permit, we'd have to meet the new code. And then the owner would say, I just lost 5 foot on each side of my house. What happened? That's important.
Yeah, so
the new LED codes. Now, all the cans have to, the sprinkler codes in California, and the cans have shifted now, where we used to be able to put in a recess can for $225. Now it's $600 per can because of the new laws that they shifted. So California is specific to that, understanding the laws that are specific to California is very important as well. And it's not the same in other states, but for us it is. And understanding this, when they come to us with a budget and they want interior design, they are interested in what it's going to look like. And we're telling them, hold on a second, you have to put 30 grand away for trash. There's a lot of stuff that happens that, as right at that first step, which disseminates a lot of information. It diffuses and demystifies a lot of it. It puts the budget in a mode of reality where as we move forward, we try to limit the surprises.
Right,
But
right.
that is going to dictate and inform how we design.
And also,
100%.
my last visit, also on my last visit, they had said if you remove more than 50% of the roof, you have to put in fire sprinklers in the whole house.
Oh.
So if you're a designer and you design something, removing 75% of the roof for a redesign, and you didn't know that, that's going to be, another $4,000
Right. And the thing is,
you
where it
didn't
happens
expect.
is it's either raising the budget for the client because they say, yes, 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 I still want to do it. Let's put this, do sprinklers in. Or it's raising the budget because once you find out after the fact and they say, never mind, I'm not doing that. Now you're redesigning anyway. So one way or another, there's dollar bills going out the door there that you need to be understood of,
Right.
be understanding of.
Right.
So I have a
Right.
question
Right.
for you. Do you guys work out of California? Do you do projects for, like, you might have somebody who has a vacation home in, Montana, or what? Do you stick strictly in California?
No, absolutely. We'll go anywhere there's a great project. If there's
So
a great
how
project
does
in
that
Montana,
happen when
we're
you?
there.
Yeah. So how does that happen as a design build firm? Is it a matter of Cliff being the one with the construction background of him now? Is there, like, building 101 and you go look up all the codes in each state, and now you know what you said, that investigation and analysis that happens, you have to start there from state to state, you guys?
Yeah.
Sure.
But it's not it's so there's a lot of parallels, LuAnn. So there's
Mm-hmm.
a lot of, even though, I mean, the concept is pretty much cookie cutter. It's basically filling in the specifics. So at that point, what we would do is we would schedule an on-site, extensive on-site, maybe 3 days to a week on-site. We would go to the city in that particular town. We would look at the building construction. We would do an analysis report. We would take, we would have the testing. We would get a team roster of local people in the area that we can work with that come recommended. We would do our vetting process. All of this is step one, because that step one, the better step one gets front loaded and the more details that we have to inform step 2, 3, and 4, the better off we're going to be. And we don't have to be overseeing the project on a day-to-day. So right, similar to when we have done projects out of site, our drawings have to be immaculate. They have to speak the language. So investing in understanding how your details are drawn, your shop drawings, making sure that your notes are accurate and you're understanding that particular zone and code, which you've already gathered, is integrated into your drawings. And then that's how we can communicate on the job site. And then, every week or every couple of weeks, we love to travel. We would do a drop in. And if that's what it takes to do that project, and then of course we'd have to be there at the end of the project, because that's when all the crazy happens.
Mm-hmm.
And we would relocate ourselves during business hours and travel back and forth to make sure that everything was executed and installed properly. It's a concept is the same, and it's just an airplane ride away.
Mm-hmm.
It's just the same concept, except for the fact that because we're not there on a day-to-day, the drawings have to be immaculate. So all the architectural has to speak the language of that city, and be almost perfect. If perfect can be had, they have to be that perfect.
Right.
Really detailed.
Yes. I mean, of course, I'm sure you strive for that ideal on every project because it just makes everything happier, smoother, whatever. But the reality is, I can hear you. If you're off site and you have contractors on site and they're working for 3, 4, 5 days at a time, they don't think they need your input because they think they're following the drawing. And if they are following the drawing, but it wasn't perfect, what are we going to do? Because you're not like walking on the site every day saying, I didn't mean that. So, okay, I have one other question for. Oh, go ahead. Sorry.
Go ahead.
No, go ahead.
I think also in your first phase, what's really important as well is hazardous material, to make sure that you understand what building was built and what type of materials could be in there as far as asbestos. That has to be tested. And a lot of people don't think about that. That's something you really need to be aware of.
Right. So, yeah, you're knee deep into these details, Cliff. That's where you are shining. You're like thinking of all of the crazy stuff that the rest of us don't think about.
Yeah, but it takes up the budget. And
Yeah.
you, as a designer, I have to think, you get a client that comes in, okay, hypothetically, I have $100,000, I'm going to do blank. And you sit down and you go, as a designer, you go, oh my gosh, well, if you take my fees off the top, I've got $90,000 to work with, or I've got $60,000 to work with. That's not true.
Right. Well, just before when you said you have to allow $30,000 for trash, I mean, that's like, right, you know what I'm saying?
Yeah. I mean, I think that understanding that at the beginning allows you to, during that step one phase when you're really negotiating contracts and budgets and all this, before you get to step one, understanding that the budget, informing the client that, hey, we're all in, we're 100% concept to turnkey. We will make sure that you get every single thing covered in this contract. But let me tell you, when they get that contract, it's a scary number for them because they're giving 4 all their money, and they're used to, in the past, potentially giving a general contractor a small portion of the money, and then they give a designer a design budget. Well, tell me how much the sofa is going to cost and what's your markup, and okay, we'll have the sofa. But it's hard for them to pull themselves, but the consumer to pull themselves back and say, okay, wait a minute, I'm going to give you all of this and right up front, and it's kind of an all eggs in one basket type of thing. Our job at those first few negotiating meetings is to really educate them and tell them, okay, well, we make diagrams, we have a PowerPoint that we bring before we sign any contracts, we have them come into our office, show good intention. We have an extended meeting. We take them through the difference between design build and the traditional methods and means of approaching a project, and how it looks and what to expect during each phase. And so that their eyes are wide open going into a project, because the fees can be very high perceivably. They're still going to pay it out even more so. We're actually going to save them about 30%, right. Of course. Right. But they don't know that until we show them. We illustrate it for them so that they feel comfortable knowing that, okay, I'm getting everything in one. I'm saving over here. They're going to give me a realistic budget to work with, so that when I go shopping for plumbing fixtures, I know I can only spend $600 on that kitchen faucet.
Right.
So that's what we provide them. So it's more than just designing and then having the general contractor building. You're negotiating and value engineering from the very first step one meeting.
Right.
All the way
and with all of that, that saves time and money.
It does. In the long run, it's just, you can't just expect the clients to understand that.
Well, and I think that comes from, again, the experience that you have. It's you don't just know it because someone else has said to you, hey, it saves time and money when you work with a one-stop shop. You know it from having done it both ways. You know it from doing it together for many years. And so when you go to explain it and you express it to a potential client, there's a difference when you explain something to somebody when you know it. When you absolutely know it through and through. There's not a but that they can put in your face that you can't come back and say, and this. I hear you, but you know what I mean, right?
It's so true.
Yes, it's yep. I know that experience. I know that and it does come with having done it many times. And so that's part of what the designers that are aspiring to have a model like this need to just give over in patience and understand, while you've done it once or twice or 5 times, each time you do it, you learn so much more and you become so much more convicted in, look, I get it, but I know this to be true. This is
yes.
how, right? Exactly. I have one question. Yes, I do. They do. I have one question for you that I just, again, like, it's so funny because I feel like I often skew a lot of the conversation back to the less experienced designer, but I do hope that, I think there's always value no matter what level you're on, but it's that voice that I hear out there, the younger, not younger in years, but younger in experience voice. And so
sure.
The voice I'm hearing now is saying, I'm on this journey. Okay, I'm going to do what you've said. I'm going to get my experience. I'm going to, if I have the ability to partner, not necessarily money wise, but just in tandem with a respectable contractor, these are all things that I'm going to take to heart. But what happens in the beginning when you are pitching the whole process, design, build, and the client is pushing you back saying, okay, it all looks really good, but let's just chop off the build part. Let's just chop that off. And I don't want to take it to completion with specifying, everything from moldings to sofas and all of that in lighting. Do you feel that there is a point that that's okay? Or do you feel let's assume we've got some experience under our belt. Let's assume we've working with a good contractor. Let's assume we've had some conversations with mentors and we've actually have some projects under our belt. Let's make that assumption. I'm not talking day one. I'm talking maybe day 3, right? Is there a point where you just say, I'm sorry, our firm does the whole thing A to Z. I appreciate that you want to just bite off this one part and then decide in 2 months or 6 months or whatever the trajectory would be to go with the next part? Or do you say, LuAnn and Cliff, you know what? Sometimes we have done the design, we have done the build, and then we had to understand that that person might not take it to the interior and the finishings and all of that stuff. What do we do with that?
It's a great question. I think that at this point, we have come to a place of exactly what you just described, a point of essence and clarity about how we want to run our day-to-day. I think that we have in the past done some piecemeal work like that, and generally it doesn't work for us, and it really does a disservice to the client. But like you said, when you're first starting out, sometimes you take projects that are going to be lesson worthy, and it's important to take sometimes those projects on, and you learn. So, but I think you do get to a point where you say, here's my best value to you, and it feels really awesome to be able to get to that point, because when it comes rolling out and with conviction of your mouth, it feels like, okay, I think we've really turned a corner here in our business model that enables us to say, this is what we know, this is what we can save you, this is what we'll provide you. We are the best in this area, and if you're looking for somebody else, we're happy to make a couple of recommendations, but this is what we do, because we can't serve you the same way if we're not in control that we can when we have control, soup to nuts. So I think you get to a point of, I just think, life development and maturity where you can actually say, I think it's great. We're going to say, no, I think we're done with that portion of our experience now. We're going to let it be open to other designers starting out, but we right now are going to say, no, this is what's best for us. So that doesn't work. However, there are times where there are some incredible projects that will come up where it will be just so fascinating for Cliff to work in his niche space of construction, where they have an architect that will already have the plans, and they love to working with Cliff. So there won't be a lot of interior design work or that's needed or necessary, but it's as heavy on construction and management, and especially in the commercial area, where if the project pencils out to be really worthwhile, then we'll kind of split off. Then I will serve Cliff in a different way. My manner will then be to serve him as an administrative processor, where I can come and help with sales, and I can come and help with the administration accountabilities, and I can help manage it on the in-house end. But there's not a lot of interior design that is required. It's more construction. So that does happen, and it really does taken on. We really want to take on projects that speak to us, and that we know we're going to hit it out of the park, and we know that it's going to be a joyful process for everybody. So the end result is important to take into consideration when you split off. But there are those times where that's just a lucrative choice.
Right. It's what
a
it is.
business, so you have to make some business decisions.
Right. What it is it's there's a difference between making a choice to do a project that might not necessarily fit into your vision of your ideal project because there's a return there that you can identify, as opposed to being bullied into not getting the full project because you weren't able to stand and say, this is the way I'll do it. I think the answer is that you said it in there. It's not that out the gate or out that first 5 years every project is going to be from A to Z if you're design build, but you're always figuring out the reason why you might do lesser than the full A to Z if there's value in it. And eventually, because of time, experience, and everything else, you will just be able to say, I always say to the designers I'm working with, know what you will do and what you won't do. And it's okay if what you will do is a bathroom renovation when you really want the whole first floor. If you know that you will do that and you know how you'll charge for it and you know why you'll do it, it's okay. But if you know you won't, you're now past that, you're not interested, it's the full first floor or don't call me, then you just say, in my experience, the best projects are when I do X, Y, and Z. And if you don't like it, here's the name of a friend who will do the bathroom for you, right?
Exactly. And it feels so good. I pray everybody listening that's coming up, because a lot of us that have been that come through full circle a few times know that feeling. That first time you stand up and you go, no, not for me. It feels like you want to go out and run a marathon. It's so invigorating to know your self-worth and value and the essence of the truth of your business. When that moment hits you, it is addictive. It's like, oh gosh, I want to say no to somebody else now.
And the truth, you're so right.
It's also about dealing with people and their personalities, and seeing what it is that you're talking to and trying to understand the person. Sometimes, with experience, you kind of sit there and go, oh,
okay, not my kind of people.
This may not work.
Right. And you have to listen to that voice, because especially with design build, you're going to be with them for many, 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 many months, if not a few years, right?
Well, the traditional type of construction is what everybody knows. You hire an architect, right? He designs a building. You hire a designer to make it look good, and you have a builder or a contractor to build it, and you hire an engineer, and you hire all of these people, and that's a traditional way. When they see something like design build, where you're dealing with one entity, it's different. It's hard for people to understand, because the way they've seen their dad do it, the way they've seen their friends do it, that's the way it's done, right? Not necessarily. Yeah. And even the Design Build Institute of America will tell you that you're going to save time and money using this type of process. And I would suggest that people go to their website and take a look at what Design Build is.
Okay, so Design Build Institute of America, is that what you just said?
Yes.
Yeah.
Exactly. It's a very, very informative, really great website, and it really helps break down some of the aspects of then and now, and the different ways that the means and methods and approaches that design build falls under the design build kind of umbrella. It's a fabulous website. It's a great institute. And you can join it pretty reasonably at first, and I think it's a great to have in your pocket. AIA, ASID, NKBA, and the Design Build Institute of America. It's really, really good websites that provide a lot of information for not only the designers, but for the consumers to understand what to expect. And we have a great presentation that we did at Las Vegas Market that was so, kind of shockingly well received by, here we were thinking we're going to a furniture market, but it's very telling, LuAnn, that you're right on the money with your, with your interest here, that it was standing room only and at Las Vegas Market, which is kind of like a furniture day. And there were architects and interior designers and contractors and installers and fabricators that were all there interested in design build. So what we wanted to do is try to break it down and demystify it and give some templating around how interior designers can work specifically in kind of integrating and getting getting into the design build arena. So it was fascinating to see how many people stayed after for almost 2 hours asking questions. There was a line out the door. There's a tremendous amount of interest in this. Legislation happens to be being changed every day. We get new legislation that is kind of changing the way interior designers can actually work. And at the same time, we have new institutions providing master's degrees and interior design degrees, and they're coming out of college really prepared with no place to behave, no place to get a business going, and unless you want to just stay in interior design and you understand and accept the limits that is, you can't talk to a general contractor by law in most states. You have to be registered in most states. So things are changing. The landscape is changing. Design build is an incredible opportunity for interior designers to have massive control over a project, to enjoy the work, to at the end see this fruit that they've created that isn't one-dimensional. And that's not to say that interior design is one-dimensional. It's the opposite. But in a design build process, it's a component.
Right. What was the name of your topic, Laura? How did you call it?
It is.
What is design build?
Oh, that was
what
it.
What is design build?
What is design build?
Now and the changing landscape.
Love it.
I can actually send you. I can send you some information on that.
Okay, and I can put it in the show notes if you want.
That'd be great. I mean, we have a PowerPoint. It's actually being, we have a CEU for it, and we're going to be shopping that out because it's really important for interior designers specifically to understand how to build, how to bid, what does it look like, how to approach it. Is it viable? What are some of the pitfalls? What are the pros and cons? And we kind of do this 1 hour CEU that really gives designers at least what we're doing here, which is to spark conversation and give some direction on how to take the next step.
I love it. I love it. Are you guys doing that summer 2019 at Las Vegas? Is it scheduled yet or no?
It's not scheduled yet, no.
So you need me to hook you up and get it scheduled, is what it sounds like. We got to have this again.
Yeah, they
Okay.
liked it before, and it was very popular. So I definitely think it should be. We want to do more. I'm actually going to be submitting it for West Edge because I think it would be really great, especially in California, because it's a different landscape here specifically.
Perfect. Oh my goodness, there's so much here. So I would just say, if you are going to any of the markets, always keep a lookout for Cliff and Laura Muller from 4 Point Design Build, because as you can see, I could keep asking them questions for probably another hour. But I just really have to say, from the first time that we spoke and then every meeting since then, I really, truly adore you too. I love everything about the way you do business, about the way you interact with each other, about the way you care about the community at large, about the way that you're willing to share your information. And what comes through is your integrity, and what comes through is your commitment to being the best that you can be. And I can just imagine what it would be like to work through a design build project with you. It must be an absolutely amazing experience. So my hat's off to you both, really.
Oh, you make me cry. Thank you, LuAnn. Oh, those are really kind words. My heart is full. Thank you.
Well, we try. Yep, it's genuinely the impression that I have gotten over and over again with the two of you. So thank you so much for being on the show today and for sharing your expertise with us.
Thanks for having us. It's been an honor. Thank you.
For me, this episode, this conversation is just as powerful today as it was when it first aired. Cliff and Laura are unbelievably talented individuals. They're also excellent business owners, excellent sources of information, and most importantly, excellent people. I have seen the value that Cliff and Laura bring to the design community on several occasions. And unless you've met them, it might sound a little corny when you hear me say this, but it's a joy to be in their company, like literally, to see the way they interact with each other, with the people around them, the knowledge that they add to every conversation, and their willingness to share and inspire and help all of us. And I just have to say, if you're ever at any market and you find that they're speaking, go to that and introduce yourself, and you will understand what I'm talking about. Okay. Now, design build is a beast, right? We know that. But hearing Cliff and Laura explain the ins and outs, the codes they have to know, the legalities, the liabilities, and the sheer depth of knowledge definitely puts it into perspective, especially for me not having done it. Like, I always thought it was a beast. And then this conversation, I was like, whoa, right? So I have to say, if design build is your goal, you have your work cut out for you, right? You have to bring so much to the table for your clients, thinking about how you have to be able to say things like, look, the budget for trash is $30K. Right? This is a level of detail that I know as a consumer would not have been on my radar, right? This is where, the difference between true experience and expertise and, hey, I'm just going to manage your design build for you, right? There's a difference, right? The good news is if it is something that you do want to do, there's a path for you, right? Cliff pointed out that education matters, but experience is what will get you where you want to be. And we talk a lot on the show about mentorship and how valuable it is. But I would venture to say it's even more important if your end goal is design build. The stakes seem a little bit higher here. The risks are greater, right? So if it truly, find a position, work in a really well-run firm like theirs, do these things. You need to forge those relationships, find those valuable connections, and build up that network of experts that can help guide you, right? Because this isn't really something you figure out on your own. It is something that you have to be taught. And I have to say, it's impossible to talk all about this without mentioning your opportunity for learning, mentorship, peer connection, and support that we have for you here at LuAnn University. Jenny Slingerland teaches Design Build 101, and Kat Anderson teaches Design Build 201. We have Design Build 201 this summer, and both will be available this fall. This is where you get that firsthand experience and the knowledge of two ladies who have years of experience in the industry, okay? It's a great place to start if you aspire to be like Laura and Cliff. It is not the end all be all, right? But it is a great place to start to learn how to put your design build book together, and then to also go into the 201 and have every single week it's the trade. So 1 week is all about plumbing, 1 week is all about cabinetry, 1 week is all about electrical, and Kat walks you through some of the more detailed layers that you have to, be aware of, okay? So go to LuAnnUniversity.com if you're interested. The summer session is starting next week. All right. And in addition to this, Laura and Cliff recommended the Design Build Institute of America. This is where you will also find people who will help you reach your goals, right? You want to hang around with the people who do what you want to do. And the process of doing project after project, collecting those lessons and experience, gathering your trusted mentors and community of peers for support. These are all the ingredients to creating a business like 4-Point Design Build, one that serves your client base, serves your community at large, and serves your team and your family. Okay. So, and if you're interested in the design build topic and now you have some ideas of how to move in this direction, that's terrific. And we also have more shows on this. You have to go to the library and check out, search Brad Levitt, Leavitt. He is the CEO of AFT Construction, and he's been on the show several times. And anybody who's interested in this design build and working with contractors and builders and all the things, love the shows with Brad. Okay, so lots of information here. Hope you enjoyed it. And I just want to say, I hope you have a great day and decide to be excellent. Thank you so much for joining me again today. This podcast is a production of WindowWorks, your resource for custom window treatments and awnings. To learn how we can help you on your next interior design project, go to www.windowworks-nj.com. And if you're interested in working with me on your business, either through masterminds or one-on-one coaching, or you want to know how to get my book, The Making of a Well-Designed Business, or you just want to know what's going on in the podcast land, plan, and where I'm going to be. All of that is found at LuAnnNigara.com. Thank you so much. Have an excellent day.